Thank you for joining us today for the Cloudnexa vNOC Customer Education webinar. Today I'm going to walk you through a demo of vNOC and some of the use cases that we see and how we see current customers using it. And at the end of the webinar, I'm going to open up the chat session for any kind of questions that you may have that you can type right into your GoToWebinar console, and I'll be happy to answer them as they come in. So let me introduce myself. My name is Sarah Doyle, and I am the Director of Customer Experience for Cloudnexa. And I work with current customers on an account management level, so I can help them understand vNOC and Cloudnexa services and perform account reviews. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to jump into the vNOC webinar. Okay. So a little bit of background on what vNOC is. vNOC is a management platform and a tool that we developed in-house in order to better manage our customer environments. We also extend this offering to our customers so that they can have ease of use around managing their environments as well. And really what vNOC is it's creating enhancements around the existing AWS console. So we're never trying to compete with or replace the AWS console. We're really just trying to stay aligned and complement and enhance the feature set that's currently existing. So what we're looking at here is the dashboard. And the first thing that I like to point out about the dashboard view is if I go to Quick Cloud Account Access, I have multiple AWS accounts linked here. So what this is showing me is that I'm getting a global view of all of my AWS accounts in the dashboard. So across all three of the AWS accounts I have linked to vNOC, I'm seeing all of the instances that I have both running and stopped, the storage that's both available and in use. I'm seeing my current and previous month spend, and as well as a budget that I've defined so I can quickly see if I'm going over that for the month. The cost summary is going to provide a breakdown and a trending graph of your multiple AWS accounts and how the spend has been incurring and kind of going up and down on either a monthly or a daily basis. And I can also go ahead and customize this date range to, a time period that's more important to me. I can look to the right here and see all the top spending services that I have in my AWS accounts. And if I scroll down, I'll be able to see resource groups. Now, resource groups with regards to vNOC are a logical collection of your AWS assets. So this is EC2 instances, RDS databases that are really grouped together for purposes of generating billing reports or even assigning governance policies. If I scroll down a little further, I'm going to see the event summary. So this is showing me all the events for CloudTrail and CloudWatch that have happened over the course of the 10 days. To the right, I see a quick snapshot that I can drill in further to in the demo that's showing you the potential savings that Trusted Advisor is calculating in your account. I'll get also a quick view of any EC2 instances and the percentage of high CPU alerts associated to them. I can see if I'm coming up against any service limit warnings. And then I can also see a CloudWatch alarm history. And so why this is important is because what vNOC is allowing you to do is it's going to provide the ability to archive CloudWatch metrics. So instead of just looking at the past 2 weeks like you can today in the AWS console, we're going to extend that to say 6 months if you wanted to, because we're giving you the ability to archive so you can get a more comprehensive understanding of how your environment's been performing. If I move up and over to monitoring and account review. So this is a newer feature for vNOC, and it's one that we've been getting great feedback from our customers on, and one that we really use internally a lot to display information and take a look at customer accounts. Now, if any of you are familiar with Trusted Advisor, this is a service that provides certain checks on your environment to ensure that it's performing efficiently and following best practices. What account review and vNOC is doing is expanding on those checks and filters. So today, Trusted Advisor has about 100 checks that it's performing over your account. vNOC probably has about 200 plus checks that it's doing in addition to that. So if we scroll down here, we can see I have some filtering options by cloud account, categories, a status, and even types. And then I can see I have the ability to export to a CSV. And the red ones are showing me when there's an actual error or alert or alarm associated with it. So I can see for auto-scaling health checks, there's been a few issues. If I am familiar with a particular issue, a particular resource or a check, and I say, hey, I don't want to be concerned about that. I don't want to look at this console and see red because I know that that's really not a problem. I can come here to Actions and hit Exclude, and that will remove that alert from that area. Now, if I scroll down a little bit further, I'll be able to see, all of the rest, CloudWatch, Direct Connect, a lot of the, EC2 ones. So one area that I like to point out when I'm working with customers, especially for a cost savings perspective, is EBS volumes that are unattached. So if you have a tremendous amount of unattached EBS volumes, something to consider is that they're unattached to a running instance, but you're still paying for that storage that you're consuming. So a good area to clean up some of your accounts is to remove those volumes or delete them if you don't need them and you're not using them. Now, if I scroll down even further, the one that I like to focus on the most is the reserved instance right here. So what this is showing me is if I have any RIs that are going to be expiring within the next 30 or 60 days. And it's also going to be showing me the usage. Now this is in beta, so we're trying to just fine-tune it up a little bit more before we can put it in GA. But what this is going to show you is the mapping to running instances and any RIs that you have. So one thing to remember is when you purchase a reserved instance through EC2 or RDS, it's actually pinned to the instance. So if I have, if I'm putting a reservation on 2 M3 mediums, and then I shut one of the M3 mediums down and make it an M3 large, I still need to consider that I'm paying a reservation for 2 of M3 mediums, but now I just have an M3 large running on demand. So you're paying for something that you're not using, and this is the area that's going to identify that and show you that information. So if I go over now to CloudWatch, so this is showing you, as I mentioned before, the ability that we're archiving metrics and alarms. So we're getting really a high-level view of this graph, but we can drill in and filter through accounts and regions, namespaces. I can, if I had a problem that I need to reference, I can go back to a certain time period. And then I can even drill into the actual alarm itself. Trusted Advisor has the same look and feel as the account review, and really it's populating up into account review. So this is just a different way to look at Trusted Advisor with some options to filter through categories and statuses. If I move over to URL Monitor, so this is where I have the ability to go ahead and input my URL. I can select the cloud account, put a name for the URL I want to monitor, what is the protocol, and then I can see here my request interval. So what this is going to do is it's going to send a ping every 30 seconds to that URL, and I can define a failure threshold. Let's say 3 times the ping needs to come back failed before it sends me an alert. And this will send you an email alert if there's ever a failed health check. And now if I move over to governance. So this is where I'm going to be able to provide a lot of the configurations for getting vNOC set up. And this is something that, from a managed service perspective, our support team does by default as we're onboarding you. So we'll set up CloudTrail and CloudWatch backups and AWS config if you're using it. But this is also where you can go ahead and define what you want your budget view to be in the dashboard. So anytime I want to set up a new governance policy, I'm going to come up here to the right-hand side, and I'm going to select a new governance policy and then identify which one I'd like to configure. Now, lifecycle. So this is always an interesting conversation that I have with customers because this is a great way to save money for environments such as development or QA that you don't need to have running 24/7, and you do have the opportunity to shut down on a scheduled basis. Because what lifecycle is going to do is it's going to allow you to set a schedule. Say your developers work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You can put that schedule into vNOC, and this will automate the process of powering on and powering off those instances, which is a really great way to cut down costs on that type of situation. And then back to governance and for backups. So what these backups are doing is it's leveraging the backup or snapshot process within AWS today. It's simply making an API call to take the snapshot in an automated fashion. So no more, taking manual snapshots in order to back up your environment. vNOC is going to allow you to automate that. And again, as part of our managed services offering, during the onboarding process, we're going to define with you what you want your backup process to be. If it's anything outside of our default, which is daily, we keep the retention policy at 30 days. You can always customize that. And now if we move over to provision. So provisioning is an interesting concept because what it's doing is it's really giving our customers access to our complete library template for CloudFormation. Now what this means is it's giving you a really easy way to automate a lot of the typical processes that you'll be doing in AWS. So if I come here and I say provision a new script, I can either select a baseline package or I can build a custom one. And let's say I want to spin up an environment for the AWS Linux EC2. As you can see here, instead of running through the regular command line, this is providing you a very clean template that you can just plug in all the information that's needed to very quickly and automatically spin up this environment, and you'll be able to provision those instances very quickly. Under resource groups, this is where you're going to be able to actually configure your resource groups. So I'll walk you through this process since you're current users of vNOC. So if I go to new resource group, this is where I'll actually go ahead and create the resource group. I'll select a parent group and I can hit create. And that just creates the group. But now what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to go back and actually assign instances to this group. And for management, moving forward, if I see I'll be able to see all the assigned resources that are in that group. And then I can even search through ones that are unassigned or in different groups and assign them to that particular resource group. Now what's a nice feature about resource groups is when you're using them to leverage governance policies. So let's say you have resource groups for production, development, and QA. They're all going to require really different backup policies potentially. So if you need production backed up or snapshotted more often than you need development, you can assign a governance policy such as backup to that resource group. And as you move instances in and out of that resource group, it will automatically inherit the policy that was assigned to that group. And now the servers grid. So the servers grid is going to give you the ability to view everything that's in your account from an instance perspective. So what we're looking at here, and keep in mind this is across multiple AWS accounts, across multiple different regions, and even different services. So if I scroll down, I'll be able to see I'm looking at RDS, and I'm also looking at EC2. So this is that global view that vNOC is really bringing together and giving you the ability to very easily view everything in your multiple AWS accounts. And a new feature, and it's a great feature, is export to CSV, so you can quickly collect a list of all of the resources that you have or the instances that you have and a lot of the relevant information. And now SSL certs. So this is where vNOC is going to go out as soon as it's linked to your account. It's going to do a scan for all SSL certs, and it's going to populate them back into the console. And this is useful because it's a very easy way to identify expiration dates. You can go ahead and manage all your SSL for certs, see when they were uploaded, and what the ID is. So now hosted apps. This is a newer offering and also one that you can see is in beta. But what this is doing is it's giving you the ability to have a single-click deployment of either WordPress or Magento platforms. And this is all in basically a flat rate package. So you can choose for WordPress, economy, or standard. You'd pay a flat $200 or a flat $275. And these are all the resources that come along with those packages for Magento or WordPress. And again, it's a single click. You put in all the information, hit create, and The provisioning request will be sent to our engineering team. We'll approve it, and it'll go ahead and get provisioned. So audit. AWS config is a feature that is not very commonly used among a lot of our customers from what I see. But it's really a great tool, and the direction that AWS is moving with this feature set is it's going in the direction of becoming a change management tool, which is very important. Now, let's say I have a project to work on my subnet. I can come to AWS config, select resource type and subnet, and this is going to filter through all the logs that are associated with AWS config and pull out just the information that's relevant to a subnet. And AWS config is really showing the relationships between all the EC2 instances in your account. So while this filters through, again, this is a pretty large API call. There's a lot of logs, and the way that it's managed through the AWS console today is simply downloading a CSV and then kind of filtering through the logs yourself. vNOC is providing a UI for that. So I can see I have my two subnets. I can pop one open. And now I know that I need to consider that all of these EC2 instances are contained within that subnet before I make any changes that could have a negative impact. And then CloudTrail. So a lot of you are probably familiar with CloudTrail, and what this is doing is providing a UI that's making it extremely easy to sort and filter through multiple accounts, multiple regions for a particular CloudTrail log. So let's say someone shut down a server. You're going to go to event type, and you're going to look for the API call stop instances, and this is going to very quickly pull out all of those logs that have stop instance associated with it. You can look at, which particular account, region, and log you're looking for, and you can pop this open, and now you know who was the user that actually shut down that server and at what date and time they did it. So vNOC also provides this level of logging, and it's going to allow you to, capture all of the user information. So anytime a user logs into vNOC, makes a change to a governance policy, runs a report, all of that information and log is going to be captured here as well. And now over to reports. So let's go to cost summary actually. Cost summary is going to give you a high-level overview of your cloud accounts. So you can either drill into a single account or look at all three of them. I can see my spend distribution across those accounts. I can see what my total usage is. We're going to provide a cost by service. You can see, on a daily basis, or monthly or daily basis, what the spend distribution is across the services. And we're also going to show you a cost by region. And one story I like to tell about this is I was working with a customer, and he was having a lot of billing problems and couldn't understand where all the extra spend was coming from in his environment. And we took a look at the cost by region. And what this showed us is he was under the assumption that everything he was running was in the East region. But what he didn't know is that a developer had logged into another region, say in APAC or in Ireland or Germany, and spun up probably about 6 or 7 instances and left them running. So he's paying for those instances, even though when he logs into the AWS console, he can't see them because he never works in another region. So how we were able to identify it is this circle kept growing larger and larger and larger. So we knew, okay, well, you have instances running in other regions than the production region or the general region that you use all the time. So this is a great way to help kind of nail down some of those problems and very quickly see. And then we're also going to give you a cost by resource group. So if your resource groups are divided by department or environment, you're going to be able to see the report that's telling you, what the spend distribution is. And then service metrics. So service metrics is going to show you information and summaries across all of the AWS services that you're leveraging. So EBS, EC2, ELB. It's going to show you some summary information, events for CloudTrail and CloudWatch, what your cost has looked like over the past few months for EC2 or RDS or any of the other instance types that you can reserve. It'll show you RI instances, as well as recent CloudTrail events. Now identity services. So identity services is where you're going to be able to create and manage users. And you can manage these users by grouping them together by permissions. So let's say that you have the finance team member and he just needs to see the reports tab. You can create him a user by selecting new user up here. And then you can drop him into the reports bucket. And when he logs in, he'll only be able to see reports. And now data export. So this is a good area for anybody that's going through, say, an audit. You need to reference a cost report, from however many years ago on a particular month for a particular cloud account. This is archiving all that information, and it's giving you the very easy ability to identify that particular report and download it to a CSV. Now the last tab is the configuration tab. So the configuration tab is really where you're going to link multiple AWS accounts to vNOC. So I would just come here and go register new cloud account. Or I can even federate access. So there's two ways to federate access into the AWS console. I can either come to configuration cloud accounts and select this green button right here, or I can do quick cloud account access and log into this this console. So this is a good use case, and the reason why this is in place, this federation, is it's really a security component. And it's nice because if you have engineers that are working in their AWS console, for application reasons or infrastructure reasons, if they walk away from their desk, they're not going to be able to leave the environment exposed to anybody who walks by, because it's on the time session. So you can see here I have a duration for either 30 minutes or an hour. Let's say I have an auditor that needs to come in and do some work. I can assign him a role, say, all right, you have an hour to do what you need to do, but you have read-only access. And then I have Access Cloud, and this will federate access directly into the AWS console. So, I mean, this is a great way to have some more visibility and a consolidated view into your AWS account and console. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the question portion of the demo. If you have any questions that you would like answered about vNOC or even Cloudnexa services, I'd be happy to answer. Please just take the time to type in your question into the GoToWebinar console, and I will answer them as they come in. I have a question here. So what other services does Cloudnexa provide outside of managed services? So that's a good question. We have a few different tiers of offerings. The core of our offering, obviously, is managed services. But we have a self-service model, and this is for customers that really love vNOC and they find a lot of value in it, but they just don't need management because they have that under control. So we have a self-service model that gives you complete access to vNOC and all the feature sets. And Cloudnexa is just simply the reseller of your AWS account. And then we have our premium tier, and that premium tier is a partnership with 3 other vendors. There is Trend Micro and their Deep Security as a Service. They provide intrusion detection, intrusion prevention, antivirus. Then there is Sumo Logic, which is a log aggregation and management tool, and AppDynamics for their application performance monitoring. So if you're interested in the premium tier, or you would like to have an AWS account that is, using the self-service tier, you can reach out to myself or our sales team, and we'll be very happy to walk you through a little bit more details on what those packages look like. If not, then I'm going to go ahead and I'll keep the questions open. So if you have any questions, please just type them right into the GoToWebinar console. Okay, I have another question here. Can you please show me again, how do I actually create and manage resource groups? I can certainly do that. So I'm going to jump back into this console, and if I go to Cloud Manager, Resource Groups, this will bring me to the Resource Groups tab, and always reference the right-hand corner. So New Resource Group. I'm going to create my resource group, and then I'll actually have to assign instances to that particular group right here. Okay. Now another tidbit that I like to point out for customers is if I come up here to the right-hand corner where my name is, there's this documentation link, and this is going to open basically our knowledge base into, you know, a lot of questions, pretty much everything regarding vNOC, but also any questions regarding some of the Cloudnexa services, and as well as general AWS information as well. So this is a really great tool and something that I use quite often when researching certain questions. All right, so I'll leave this open for another minute. If no one else has questions, then we can wrap up. Okay, I have a question here. Can resource groups be aligned to IAM users groups? So they can be. Resource groups are really just leveraging tagging, but you're going to have to basically manage that. So you're going to have to keep track of which instance is working with one of the IAM users in that group. So it may get a little bit complicated, and it may take some configurations, but it can certainly be done. All right, so I'll leave this open for another few minutes. Please text any of your questions into the dashboard. I'll be happy to help. And also, if you don't have any questions that are coming to mind right now, let me open my info. So again, my name is Sarah Doyle, and I am the Director of Customer Experience here at Cloudnexa, and my contact information is on the screen. Please feel free to take this information down, and if you do have any questions, you can either shoot me an email or give me a call, and I will be happy to help in any way. And if not, if there's no more questions, then I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the webinar, and I want to thank everybody for joining us today for our vNOC 101. We're going to be doing these bi-monthly, so please, feel free to attend other webinars as time goes on, and we will be happy to help. Oh, and someone's thanking me for taking the time for this. Absolutely. Yeah. So Joshua, you have my contact information. If there's anything else that I can help, or you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and engage. All right, everyone. Well, thanks again, and have a wonderful day.